Hello folks, welcome to this course, Acumen Risk, Step by Step. My name is Gavin Drysdale. My background is in project controls, covering the last 25 years. I am based in Australia and my experience covers mega projects in the mining, oil and gas and heavy industries. I have worked as a project controls specialist for many of the major international companies. I have a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in industrial engineering. The course content applies to all of the Deltek Acumen Risk versions. I am currently using version 8.3. If you are using a different version, you may notice a few differences, but they should be minor. So if you're a project manager, project scheduler, project controller, engineer, cost controller, risk analyst, or anyone else who wishes to learn Deltek Acumen Risk, this course is for you. You could also be migrating your skills from one of the other risk analysis software packages and want to get up and running quickly in Deltek Acumen Risk. This is an extremely comprehensive course which will take you from the beginner to advanced level in the use and application of Deltek Acumen Risk. Throughout the course, you will have the opportunity to work through various exercises to help reinforce what you have been learning. This course for Deltek Acumen Risk falls within the S1 to S5 maturity framework, which applies to the whole Deltek Acumen suite: Acumen Fuse, Acumen 360 and Acumen Risk. There are a set of 5 steps that should be followed to decrease risk, improve quality and confidence for the validation of schedules. As one progresses, each level leads to a more successful and achievable project plan. So the Deltek Acumen Suite adheres to the following 5 steps. S1, the project base. The non-validated schedule. S2, critiqued. This is the use of schedule diagnostics to identify and correct schedule problems. Then S3, risk adjusted. Risk analysis to mitigate identified schedule risks. S4, optimized. Develop cleansed scenarios to accelerate and optimize the schedules. S5, team aligned. Confidence in the forecasted dates is improved and team buy-in on the critiqued, risk-adjusted and optimized schedule is obtained. The objectives of this course cover a step-by-step approach to learn Acumen Risk. So by the end of the course, you will be able to import schedules into Acumen Risk and check their validity. Assign uncertainty values into your schedules. Perform schedule risk analysis. Set task existence and correlation. Interpret results from the risk exposure and risk driver charts. Set up a risk register and define the risk scoring matrix. Add risks. Map risks to activities in the schedule. Use the risk exposure comparison chart to compare scenarios. Add in mitigation actions and perform cost risk analysis. Lastly, this course assumes that all participants have a basic understanding of the principles of scheduling and risk analysis. You should also be familiar with risk management processes and terminology. For this course, we will be importing Primavera P6 XER files. However, we could also import files from MS Project, Deltek, Primavera Risk, Phoenix, Asta, UN CFACT, and Safran. Before taking this course, you would have preferably completed my comprehensive course for Deltek Acumen Fuse, step by step. Although this course is designed for new users of Deltek Acumen Risk, it would be an advantage to have previous experience of using Acumen Fuse. So let's get started and open up your copy of Acumen. When you first open Acumen, a welcome window will appear with details of your licensed Deltek Acumen software. After a short while, Acumen will open in the default S1 Projects tab. A splash screen will tell us that our workbook contains no projects, so we're ready to get started. In the next lesson, we will discuss the navigation of the Acumen Risk workspace. Now that you have opened your copy of Deltek Acumen Risk, we will learn how to navigate and understand the workspace. When you first open Acumen, it will open in the S1 Projects view by default. You will see that the workspace is broken down into 3 areas. Across the top, we have the main menu. This is where we control the display and analysis of our data. Then on the left is the Projects or Navigation pane. This will display all of our projects. In the central area is the Activities pane. This is where we can show our project activities. Let's look at the main menu bar. Firstly, on the top left, there is the Deltek Acumen button. Here you can create a new project, open an existing project, save or print a project, and close a file. At the bottom of the dialog window, you can modify the options or exit Deltek Acumen. Across the top of the main menu bar, we have 10 separate tabs. Each tab relates to a particular level of the Acumen Schedule Maturity Framework. Now, what do all of the tabs mean? Let's discuss what each tab does. Firstly, the S1 Projects tab. Here we create and maintain project workbooks. We use it to import, view, and edit project data. Next, the S2 Diagnostics tab. This includes the main Acumen view and is used to conduct the fuse analysis. Next, the S2 Logic tab. Here we can perform advanced logic checks. Then the S2 Benchmarking tab. This allows us to compare our project data with a cloud-based database of similar projects. This option becomes available if it is selected in the Deltek Acumen options, where you can manually opt out or opt in. Next, the S3 Risk tab. This is for Monte Carlo risk analysis, risk register, and reporting. This tab will be our main focus for this course. The S4 Acceleration tab forms part of Acumen 360 and will be covered in a separate course. It allows us to define acceleration goals and criteria. Next, the S5 Dashboard tab. This brings up our reporting dashboard where we can publish graphic results for our analyses. Next, we have the Forensics tab. This allows us to compare multiple snapshots or historical instances of a project or projects. Next, the Metrics tab. Here we access the metric editor for maintaining metrics or creating custom metrics. Lastly, the Fields tab. This tab allows us to define custom field mappings when we import project data. Now for this course, we are going to focus mainly on the S3 Risk tab. This is where we will find our options for running and analyzing a risk analysis. Currently, the S3 Risk tab will not be available because we first need to open a workbook. So let's open a sample workbook. Click on the Acumen button at the top left, select Open, and navigate to Acumen Fuse Samples Acumen Suite Sample Workbook P6.afw. Highlight this file and click Open. By default, the workbook will open in the S1 Projects tab. Now click the S3 Risk tab. In the left Projects pane or Navigation pane, you will see the 2 files in the workbook that we've just opened. We have the current schedule, which is an imported Primavera P6 schedule, and cost risk sheet, which is an Excel spreadsheet. Now highlight the current schedule. In the Projects pane or Navigation pane on the left, when you select the current schedule, you'll note that its activities appear in the Activities pane on the right. They may or may not be rolled up. If you then select the Cost Risk sheet, all of its details will appear in the Activities pane. In the Projects pane, let's select the current schedule. Now if we look at the Activities pane, we will see that it is split into an upper and lower panel. The upper panel will show the Gantt chart, which can be expanded or collapsed at different levels. Click the little plus sign to the left of the feed ID to expand the project to the next WBS level. Now click the minus sign to minimize the feed element again. The width of each of the column headings can be changed by dragging the right column header boundary, left or right. The position of the field headers can be changed by clicking and dragging the column header to a new position. So click anywhere in the column header for remaining duration and drag and drop it to a new position between ID and description. A double arrow will appear when the correct position is located. Drag and drop remaining duration back to its original position. Next, you will note a double line that separates the Gantt chart and the activity list. The width of the Gantt chart can be varied by clicking and dragging this separator to a new position. So hover over it until a double horizontal arrow appears. Then click and drag the separator to the left or right. Now look at the Gantt chart on the right. At this level, we are viewing our Gantt chart at summary level, so we will only be looking at the summary bars and some milestones in the Gantt chart. If you see a green vertical line running vertically through your Gantt bars, this is the data date of the project or snapshot. When we look at the lower panel, we will see that it has a number of tabs that show details of the selected activity or element heading in the top panel. This is where we are able to view our project details in a number of ways. You can also navigate your relationships in the Relationships tab. However, note that you will not be able to edit any details of a project or snapshot. Only scenarios can be edited, and these will be discussed later in the course. There is a little twirly icon on the top right of the Details pane. If you click it, you will hide or show this pane. So you can see that the whole workspace is extremely configurable to enable you to display your data that suits you. As we move through this course, we will use many of the features in the workspace and cover them in more detail. Close this workbook by clicking on the Acumen icon in the top left corner, then clicking Close in the drop-down. A window will open that asks if you want to save changes. Just click No to close the workbook without saving. In the next lesson, we will discuss the S3 Risk tab in detail. In this lesson, we will discuss the S3 Risk tab in detail. If it is not already open, click on the Acumen button at the top left. Select Open and navigate to Acumen Fuse Samples Acumen Suite Sample Workbook P6.afw. Highlight this file and click Open. By default, the workbook will open in the S1 Projects tab. Next, click the S3 Risk tab and open the Risk Workspace. Now the S3 Risk Workspace forms the heart of Acumen Risk. Across the top, we have the main menu bar. Below the menu bar, we have the Projects and Activities panes that we discussed in the previous chapter. In the Projects or Navigation pane, highlight the current schedule. Now the main menu consists of several groups of buttons. The number and functions of groups displayed in the top menu depends on the combination of options selected in the left and right panel buttons in the Views group. In the Views group on the left, click on the button for Left Panel, and a drop-down will open with two choices: Activities and Risk Register. By default, in the left panel drop-down, you'll see that the option for Activities is selected. Click the right panel button and from the drop-down, set it to None. The main pane will display all of the activities and WBS elements for the current schedule. Now let's look at the groups of buttons across the top menu. In the Views group, in the left panel drop-down, keep the selection as Activities. The right panel will still be set to None. Across the top, the button groups will be Editing, Activities, Analysis, Templates, Risk Models, and Import or Publish. However, if you look at the chart that is currently displaying, you will note that the combination of groups in the top menu change depending on the selection in the right panel drop-down. So, if you select, say, Risk Exposure in the right panel, the button groups will change to a different combination. We'll look at the button groups a little later in this lesson. Now let's look at the different options in the right panel drop-down. So click the button for Right Panel. We have None. This option displays the entire Acumen window. Gantt Chart. This option will display a Gantt chart against all activities in the Activities window. Uncertainty Inputs. This option displays a donut chart for all of the selected uncertainty inputs. Risk Exposure. This will allow you to view and evaluate risk exposure in a histogram. Then Risk Exposure Comparison. Here you can use this view to add multiple risk exposure scenarios to the risk comparison. You will be able to compare the S-curve results for different scenarios. Risk Drivers. This will allow you to view cost and schedule drivers in a tornado chart. Then Risk Driver Comparison. Here you are able to add the set of current results for the risk driver comparison, then compare all sets of results in a single graph. Risk Sensitivity. This will allow you to view the relationship and joint confidence level, or JCL, between the activities or costs in a scatter chart. Then Critical Schedule Drivers. Using this option, we can view critical or near-critical paths that become critical due to risk. Lastly, Risk Register. This option allows us to create and maintain project risks and integrate them into our cost or schedule model. Now, click the left panel again and select the option for Risk Register. Change the right panel settings back to None. This time we will note that the Risk Register details are now displayed in the main pane. In the top of the Risk Register pane, we will have a list of all discrete risks. The Risk Register headings are currently grouped into Risk, Current, Mitigation, Mitigated, and Custom Fields. Each of these groups can be sorted by their header name by dragging their name into the group panel in the top field. You can try this for yourself if you want, but I don't use this feature very much at all. You can also change the position for headers by dragging and dropping them to a new position. If you right-click on any of the headers, a drop-down will open where you can change the sort order, change grouping, show the column chooser to add or remove columns, use the best fit option, open the filter editor, and show the search panel. You can try all of these options for yourself, but I seldom use any of these options. In the bottom pane, you will see details of the discrete risk that is currently selected in the top pane. You will note that we have 3 tabs in the bottom pane where we can set details and set the type, such as threat, opportunity, calendar or risk window, view mappings, or add or remove mitigation steps. So in the Views group in the left panel drop-down, keep the selection as Risk Register. The right panel will still be set to None. Across the top, the button groups will be Risk Register, Analysis, Templates, Risk Models, and Import or Publish. However, if you look at the included chart displaying on your screen, you will note that the combinations of groups in the top menu change depending on the selection in the right panel drop-down. So, if you select Activities in the right panel, the button groups will change to a completely different combination. Now, let's look at the different options in the right panel drop-down. So, click the button for the right panel. We have None. This option displays the entire Acumen window. Risk Exposure Comparison. Here, you can use this view to add multiple risk exposure scenarios to the risk comparison. You will be able to compare the S-curve results for the different scenarios. Risk Driver Comparison. Here, you are able to add the set of current results to the risk driver results in a single graph. Activities. If you select this option, you will be able to view the project schedule and set duration uncertainties. Mitigation Analysis. This option will be discussed next in the Risk Register group. Now let's discuss the options for each group of buttons as they appear in the top menu. So in the Views group, select Activities in the left panel and make sure that the right panel is set to None. Now for the rest of this section, we are only going to look at the editing and activities groups in detail. The following groups will be discussed in detail in later chapters of the course: Risk Register, Risk Exposure, Risk Exposure Comparison, Risk Drivers, Risk Driver Comparison, Critical Schedule Drivers, Analysis, Templates, Risk Models, and Import or Publish. So firstly, we have the editing group with the following buttons. Lock or Unlock. This option will lock or unlock duration uncertainty settings in a WBS header or individual activity. Then Unlock All Children. This option will unlock all children duration uncertainty settings for a selected parent. You need to select the parent before unlocking any children. Add Activity. If you click this button, you can add a new activity or milestone into the schedule. Note that this option is only available when you select a project scenario or cost estimate in the Projects pane on the left and when the hierarchy of the schedule is grouped by WBS. Then Delete. Highlight an activity or milestone and click this button to delete the activity or milestone. This option is only available when you select a project scenario or cost estimate in the Projects pane on the left. Before we look at the Activities group, click the right panel button pull down and select Gantt chart. So we have the Activities group with the following buttons. Activity View, Smart Gantt. This is displayed when the Gantt chart is selected in the right panel pull down. And Risk Advisor. The Smart Gantt view can be configured further by selecting the small expansion icon in the bottom right of this view window. Let's click the Activity View button. From the pull down, you'll have a number of options for our activity views. Grouping. This lets you select how your activities are grouped or displayed. Filtering and auto-fit column widths. Select Grouping and you'll note that we have further options shown in the pop-up window that opens. Let's look at Group by Hierarchy. This view will show all of the workbook, project or snapshot data in a hierarchy similar to the WBS. If you click Group by Hierarchy, another window pops up where you can choose the grouping for your hierarchy. Let's select WBS for our grouping. You will note that your Gantt chart is grouped by WBS. We can also display or hide different levels of the Gantt chart by clicking the plus or minus sign next to the activities list. Click on the plus sign for the current schedule and the activities will expand downwards. Now select Activity View, Grouping, Group by Fields. A grouping and sorting box will open. This view allows you to group or sort the project activities by field. This could be a code field or user field. At the bottom of this pop-up, we have two bars where we can choose our grouping and sorting options. Make sure that you have selected the grouping bar. Now on the left-hand pane, we have all of the available fields. The first heading for the available fields will be General, with a small arrow on the right of the heading. Click this arrow and all of the general fields will roll up. The next field heading is Cost, and so on. There will also be headings for date and duration. To group by fields, select the required field from the available fields list on the left. Click on the right arrow in the center of the pop-up to add the field into the grouping field list. Let's select any field and click the right-hand arrow to move it across. Give it a color from the drop-down list. Normally, you would click OK to apply the grouping selections, but for now, just click Cancel. Next, select Activity View Grouping Flat. This option ungroups all of the activities and they are displayed as a table. Next, we have Grouping and Sorting. Most likely, it will be grayed out because all of our activities are currently ungrouped. This option will become available if we have chosen to group by fields. Now select Activity View, Group by Hierarchy, WBS again. Select Activity View, Grouping, Display Level. At the bottom of the window, we can adjust the display level using a slider. Acumen can automatically detect the number of hierarchical levels that are included in the files, so we can adjust the number of WBSs or fields we wish to view. Click on the slider position 3 and you'll note that our Gantt chart has been expanded to 3 levels. Now select Activity View Filtering. This is where you can select what project information you want to display. The list in the small window to the right tells us that None and Hide Empty Summaries are currently selected. Leave them as they are for now. Now, if you have created custom activity filters in metrics or forensics, they will display in the list and you will be able to select them. The last option is AutoFit Column Widths. This command will automatically fit the Activity View column widths to data. Now, I would like to mention that all of these options have been discussed in detail in my course Acumen Fuse Step by Step, so I'm not going to repeat it here. Now we'll look at the Smart Gantt view. In the left-hand panel, highlight the current schedule. The Smart Gantt view allows us to customize the display characteristics of our Gantt chart. Each Gantt activity bar can show up to 2 bars that can be assigned with its own dataset of dates. The top bar shows scheduled, critical, and non-critical dates, and the bottom bar shows late, critical, and non-critical dates. The scheduled or late dates for each bar can be configured to show scheduled, which is the default, early, late, baseline, original, or probabilistic dates. Next, for each bar, we can show color. The color options for our schedule are critical or non-critical, which is the default. Schedule quality, historical performance, metrics, field, and advisor. Then the color options for risk inputs are duration uncertainty and cost uncertainty. For risk inputs we have criticality, duration contribution, and risk range factor. Lastly, for acceleration we have calibration. This is covered in my course Deltek Acumen 360, step by step. For each set of bars, we can elect to show or hide progress. Finally, for each set of bars, we can elect to show or hide float. We have a further set of Smart Gantt configuration options. Click on the little arrow at the bottom right of the Activities group. This will open the Smart Gantt configuration window. Here you can set the parameters for the top and bottom bars, colors and dates, as well as filter criteria. Any risk data will be grayed out until a risk analysis has been carried out. I will not be covering the Smart Gantt configuration. I usually accept the default settings. Detailed setup of the Smart Gantt option is covered in my other course, Deltek Acumen Fuse, step by step. The last button in this group is the Risk Advisor. We will discuss its use later on in the course. Now click the button for the left panel and this time select the option for Risk Register. Then click the button for right panel. The drop-down will give us options for the following groups: None, Risk Exposure Comparison, Risk Driver Comparison, Activities, and Mitigation Analysis. These groups will be discussed in detail later in the course. Close this workbook by clicking on the Acumen icon in the top left corner, then clicking Close in the drop-down. A window will open that asks if you want to save changes. Just click No to close the workbook without saving. In the next lesson, we will go through the risk analysis procedure and the steps of setting up the Acumen Risk workbook.